that you know and love. It has the Atmel microcontroller, has all of the I/O pins that you can connect to little things like LEDs and motors and switches and sensors and other boards through the shields, things like that. But what's really exciting about it is that and I swore I'd never use that word because it's such a marketing phrase. What I like about the YUN is that in addition to the basic Arduino computer with the Atmel chip, there is a whole other computer with a Linux operating system. So believe it or not, on this board I'm holding two computers, the Arduino Atmel-based computer side, and then a, what is the chip? Is it a MIPS or, it's an AR9331. I forget exactly, I'm pretty sure it's MIPS, but don't quote me on that.
Sounds right to me.
So we have the Linux computer, and for those of you familiar with the Linux, you have your command line interface, you have a package manager that allows you to install other pieces of software, and it comes with Python already pre-installed. So for those of you who like to program in Python, ready to go out of the box. Now for those of you who don't know Linux, don't be frightened, because one of the things that we tried to do with the YUN is make it easy to use the features that come with Linux, mostly the networking, and some of the heavy processing without having to learn how to use Linux. And that's what these fine folks from Tempo are going to be helping to explain in a couple of minutes. By the way, can you do me a favor, make sure I don't run over time? When I get to 4:40, kick me or something. So very, very briefly, actually I'm going to switch to the screen now. We go like that, and that works. Okay, so for those of you who are wondering where I'm getting my talk, if you go to the Arduino website, there's the Getting Started tab, and in the Getting Started tab there are all the boards that we make, and somewhere down on that is YUN, and that's the page I'm looking at right now, so you don't need to take notes because it's all here. So I think now I can show this to you. So there is a picture of the YUN. Some of those I/O ports and devices are familiar to you from the Leonardo. For instance, the micro USB port, which is also the power port. There's no external power on the YUN. There are as I said before, the usual digital I/O and analog I/O. But as you can see, there's also Ethernet, USB host, micro SD, and Wi-Fi. That's all on the Linux side, so you have access to that only indirectly from the Arduino side. Can I use the two-finger? Yes. Beautiful. So if it has so many computers on it, one of the difficulties is figuring out what do you reset. So we decided to put 3 different reset buttons on it. There's a reset button for the Atmel, for the Arduino side. There's a reset button for the Linux side, which we call the Linux side over here. I'll explain that in a minute. And there's also a separate reset button for the Wi-Fi. And I'll explain why that is in a minute, because there's a trick to configuring this board. We also have a slew of LEDs. If you're familiar with the 4 or 5 LEDs that we have on the traditional Arduino, this really grew. So we have the familiar receive and transmit from the Arduino side. We have the familiar pin 13 LED, but now we also have Wi-Fi, or the power indicator, we have Ethernet, and USB. And some of these are multicolored, so they actually have different colors depending on what they're showing. I mentioned Linux before. What is Linux? It's a distribution of Linux that we're using on the Linux side. And it, in fact, is a variation of something called OpenWRT, which is a standard Linux distribution that's available out there. Obviously, just like everything else with Arduino, it's open source. You can get this at any different level. You can get the package, you can compile it yourself, you can build your own Linux distribution if you want to. But out of the box, it comes with this OpenWRT flavor called Linux. I'm not a Mac user. There we go. Okay. I mentioned that it has Python. Not a problem with that. External storage. The Linux computer has a flash memory built into it, but it has a limited number of read and writes. So to avoid stressing that, we encourage you to use the micro SD card. That's really what you want to use as your file system. So any programs that you write, if you wanted to serve specific web pages, if you wanted to create your own C programs or Python programs, you put that on the micro SD card, and that obviously has the benefit then you can pull it out of the YUN, put it into your laptop, load it up that way, put it back in the YUN, and then it's available there. I'm going to skip the REST API for a minute. I talked about the resetting. One of the subtle differences with the Leonardo on the YUN from the traditional Leonardo is the serial ports, because we needed some way to get the Leonardo side to talk to the Arduino side, and we do that over serial port 1. So serial port, the traditional initial serial port is still your connection to over USB to your laptop. Serial port 1 is connected to the console of the Linux side. So when you boot up Linux and you see all those messages scrolling by, or when you want to type things on the command line, that is now connected to serial port 1 on the Arduino side, so that you can communicate between those two things. And I'm already running out of time. So I'm going to bypass all of that setup, because that's all stuff that you're familiar with. It's very much like setting up a Leonardo.
I can run a choreo.
And what I really want to get down to is, how do you configure the Wi-Fi? Because this is a problem. There's no keyboard and screen on this. So how do you set the Wi-Fi to work? And the answer is this. When you get your unit first, it is configured to act as an access point. So you power it up, and you go into your Wi-Fi browser, and you will see a new access point called Arduino YUN, and then some serial number. You connect to that, and then from that you can configure it to connect to your house or school or whatever network. So you will see, well, you'll be asked for a password. Password is Arduino, big secret. And you will be asked to configure it right here. So is this the right? Yeah, I think it's right. So it will automatically search for other access points in its vicinity, give you a little pull-down menu. That's when you pick the access point of your house or whatever, give it the password if you're using security, and then the next time you reboot it, it'll be connected to your house network. So then on your computer, on your laptop, you disconnect from the Arduino, connect to your house network, and now you can find the Arduino. How do you find the Arduino? It shows up as, I don't see where it says that. It shows up as arduino.local. So it will be another Arduino, it will be another device on your home network. And the cool thing about that is that when you want to program your Arduino, you're familiar with the, do we have the IDE? Oh, it doesn't matter, I'm out of time already. Yeah, don't worry about it. Okay. When you look into the tools menu, you're used to seeing the serial port, but now in addition to the serial port, you'll also see your Arduino YUN as an IP address. We don't see it now because we don't have Wi-Fi working here, but it means that you can actually program your YUN either over the USB cable, the traditional way. You can also program it wirelessly over the Wi-Fi network. Yes, sir? I believe you can. The question was whether you can also do that over wired Ethernet. I'm pretty sure you can, because I did try that once. Really quickly, and then I'm going to stop. The traditional examples, all of the usual things, but with the addition of this thing called bridge. So remember I said those two serial ports were connected, the serial port from the Linux side, the serial port for the Arduino side. So there's a piece of software that has a library on both of those sides, and that's the bridge, and it bridges between those two halves. So what that gives you is ways for you to write Arduino sketches that communicate through the bridge with the Linux side. And you can write those from scratch. There are tons of examples in there. But the really cool thing is to use what these guys are going to tell you about, which is a way to automate that process so you don't have to use it manually. And I think this is a good time to switch over.
Cool. Thank you. So we're from Timbu, and this is my colleague Cormac. And basically, we make it really easy for the YUN to access over 100 APIs. And we have our own software installed right on the YUN. So you get the YUN out of the box, you have a free Timbu account, and you have access to over 2,000 programs over 2,000 processes that live on the platform. And so first we've created a number of getting started examples for using the YUN with Timbu. So you can see right here we have examples for making the YUN get weather data, posting data to Google spreadsheets, updating Facebook, tweeting, reading Twitter, uploading files to Dropbox. And we take you right through everything and show you, how to get you doing this basically in minutes. So a really cool example is uploading data to Google spreadsheets. For instance, you can use this to have a sensor hooked up to your YUN and completely be recording data continuously to a Google spreadsheet. So here you can see this is our website right here, and this is where you can explore all the methods within the Timbu library. So right here, this is the append row. This is adding data to a Google spreadsheet. So basically, right here, you can see all the inputs you would need to do this and test out that method online on Timbu's website and see exactly what sort of output data you're getting. And then also, once you scroll down the page and after you've run this method on Timbu, we generate the sketch code for you with all the inputs you need, and you can literally just copy from Timbu's website and paste that into the Arduino IDE, and then your Arduino is then interacting with any API in the Timbu library. So here you can see this is the sample code that's generated. You select Arduino YUN from Timbu's website, and then we have a copy button right there for the sketch code you need, and then go right into the IDE, paste it in there. You can see it's right here, and then you can run it, and then your YUN is connecting to Google Spreadsheets. We also have a number of examples that are actually built into the Arduino IDE up in the examples under the bridge menu. And right now we have about 10 examples that are live on the special Arduino portal of the Timbu website, and we plan to add more as we get more experimental and really see all the sort of infinite possibilities that you can do once your Arduino is hooked up easily on Wi-Fi and connecting to basically any major API that you want. And I think that's all I have to say. Yeah, with Timbu you get a free account, so you get 1,000 basically API calls or interactions a month for free, so plenty to play around with. And yeah, if anyone has any questions, let me know. You can also sign up for Timbu right now without using the Arduino if you need to. Yeah.
Yeah. I actually just returned mine. I'm sorry, I didn't think that. Is this live?
Sure. Oh, yeah.
I guess not, I'll just use this one. Okay, so I just wanted to add, if you have any questions, we have some time now because we took less time than we thought. We can entertain questions, but also we have a booth just over there. And we have some of the YUNs out. We have the IDE set up so you can play around with that. Unfortunately, Wi-Fi is a little troublesome because there's just so much, as you probably discovered if you're trying to use your phone, there's so much radio noise around here that's really hard to connect. So we can't show you that part, but we can walk you through just about everything else. So we're happy to take questions here or later. Yes, sir?
So you mentioned the serial communication between Arduino and the Linux processor.
Right.
Does that take away any functionality on the things?
Good question. The question was if the serial connection between the YUN and between the Linux side and the Arduino side, does that use up any pins? I used to know the answer to that, and it's just slipped my mind. Yeah, stop by the booth. I kind of would imagine it would. Yes, sir. Sorry? Oh, the question is, what is the latency? That's a good question. I don't know. That's a really good one. In all of my experiments, it's pretty darn fast. It's nothing that I noticed. Do you guys have any experience with that?
No, it's good.
It's good, we said. Any questions for the Timbu guys? So one of the other, oh yes, question over there. Oh, that's for you guys.
So the way that we can make talking to APIs really easy is by normalizing how they all look. So in order to do the calls get routed through our servers, and then we come out to Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, and so on. We give you 1,000 calls, and after that, it's a subscription, common subscription model. You pay per use, basically.
No other questions? Wow, we really did that quickly. Gee, well, if there are no other questions, maybe I'll just spend a little bit of time walking through some of the examples in the Bridge library, if we have the development environment set up. So let's take a look at YUN serial terminal, right down at the bottom. So what this sketch does is it's a way to connect the serial console from the... is it not showing up there, or is it too small? Too small. We can make it bigger? Oh, I think... oh, actually, I know how to do this.
You want to zoom in? Or?
Yeah, but we can just change it. Preferences. Kick that up. Is that better? Or is it kind of washed out? So what we're going to do here is we're going to connect the serial port from the... so we're writing an Arduino sketch. The Arduino sketch is going to take information from one serial port and send it to the other serial port. It's just going to be passing it back and forth. And so the interesting part is really just down at the bottom here. It says if there's data available here, then send it over here. The effect of that is that when you connect to the traditional Arduino serial port using your serial monitor, what you're actually getting is going to be the messages that are coming from the Linux side. So this is just a one-way channel. You'll only get the messages coming out. But if you implemented the other side as well, it means that you'll be able to type on your serial monitor, Arduino sends it to Linux, and now you're typing into the Linux command line. So you can have that channel. And this is really to demonstrate just how simple it is to do that. All this other stuff up here that I jumped over is just to set the speed, the baud rate, so not really that important. Now, one interesting side effect of that is, I remember I said that you can connect to the YUN either over the traditional USB method or over wireless. So if we had wireless now, no, we do seem to, maybe. So when you connect to the serial monitor, you would actually have a choice of getting the serial monitor over USB, or you could get it over Wi-Fi. So if you had this on a robot that was running around, you could still connect to the serial monitor, but you'd be doing it wirelessly instead of using the USB cable. Another nice example of that, let's see, file, examples. Let's see if I can, if you guys have anything to add to anything I'm saying, then don't hesitate to jump in. Let's take a look at the bridge sketch. So remember I said that Bridge is the library that sits between, that has two halves. Half of it sits on Arduino, half of it sits on Linux, and it gives you that communication between one and the other. As part of that, you can send, what would you call this kind of slashed commands? As if they're URLs, there's a name for this and I forget what they're called. You can send those kind of commands from Arduino to the Linux side, other way around, from Linux to the Arduino side, 5 minutes, thank you, and have it do things like turning on lights and reading inputs and what have you. So you can send a message, say over a web server, a web page that would look like, say this one over here, Arduino analog 2, and it would have the effect of doing an analog read on pin number 2, and then giving you the results on your web page. Now, if you know command line stuff, you realize there's also a way to connect directly to the computer over the network using SSH. So you can do that as well, and then use these commands directly on via SSH. So I think that's all I have time for. I apologize that it's been so quick. the idea was just to give you a bit of a taste of what you can do with this, because really this is so new, the possibilities are kind of, we don't know what they are yet. So we're looking at you to come up with all the great examples so that next time we do this talk, we can say, and here are some great projects using the YUN. So I look forward to seeing you building things. I don't have my cards in my pocket, but I do have my cards over there. Please contact me and tell me what cool things you're building. Any final words from you?
Come by and see the YUN in action.
Sounds good. Yeah. Thank you very much.